Stop settling for a life you should have and start demanding the one you must have. Most people are playing not to lose, but I'm asking you, are you ready to play to win? Success is 80% psychology. It's time to stop making excuses, master your mind, and take massive action right now. The 80-20 rule of success is the fundamental law that governs why some people thrive in the face of absolute chaos, while others crumble when everything seems perfect. Most people spend their entire lives obsessing over the how-to. They are constantly searching for the right strategy, the right business plan, or the exact workout routine. They think if they just find that one missing piece of information, their whole world will change. But here is the cold, hard truth. Strategy is cheap. Information is everywhere. If information were enough, everyone with an internet connection would be a billionaire with six-pack abs. The reason people fail isn't a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. And that is 100% psychological. Winning is 80% psychology and only 20% mechanics. Your psychology is your belief system, your emotional patterns, and the why that drives you when you're exhausted and the world is telling you to quit. The mechanics are just the tools. You can give a person the greatest violin in the world, the best mechanics. But if they don't have the psychological discipline to practice, or the belief that they can create masterpieces, that instrument is just a piece of wood. Conversely, when your psychology is dialed in, when you are certain, when you are hungry, and when you have a must instead of a should, you will find the mechanics. You will hunt them down. You will break through walls to get the how because your why is so big it leaves you no other choice. Most people are stopped by fear, by doubt, or by the stories they tell themselves about why they can't succeed. Those stories are the psychological anchors holding your ship in the harbor. You have to understand that your brain is not designed to make you happy or successful. It is designed to keep you safe and alive. To win, you have to override that primal programming. You have to master your internal narrative because your external world will always be a reflection of your internal state. If you are weak on the inside, you will be beaten on the outside. But when you master your psychology, you become the architect of your own destiny. You stop reacting to the environment and start creating it. You realize that the only thing keeping you from the life you want is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't have it. The second key to the psychology of winning is the absolute mastery of your state. Most people live their lives as a reaction to their environment. If the weather is good, they feel good. If their boss is grumpy, they get depressed. If the economy is down, their energy's down. They are like a leaf blowing in the wind, completely at the mercy of external forces. But winners understand that state is not something that happens to you. It is something you create. It is the internal climate you carry with you regardless of the storm raging outside. Your state is the sum total of your physiology and your focus in any given moment. If you are slumped over, breathing shallowly, and looking at the floor, you are chemically signaling to your brain that you are defeated. You cannot win a high-stakes game with a low-energy physiology. You have to learn how to change your state in a heartbeat. You move your body, you change your breath, and you demand a level of intensity from yourself that most people wouldn't dream of. Success is a result of the emotional and physical state you choose to live in every single day. If you operate from a state of certainty, you will find solutions that the doubtful version of you could never see. If you operate from a state of passion, you will attract people and opportunities that the bored version of you would never encounter. Think about it. Have you ever been in a flow state where everything just clicked, where you felt invincible? That wasn't an accident. That was a specific psychological and physical configuration. The problem is that most people leave that state to chance. They hope they wake up feeling motivated. Hope is not a strategy. You have to become a master at triggering your peak state on command. You have to anchor that feeling of absolute power so that when the pressure is on, you don't fold, you explode into action. When you control your state, you control your behavior. When you control your behavior, you control your results. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the master of your soul. You realize that your biography is not your destiny, but your state in this moment defines your future. The third key to the psychology of absolute victory is the radical act of raising your standards. Most people in this world are living a life based on their shoulds. I should lose some weight. I should make more money. I should be a better partner. I should start that business. And then they wonder why their life doesn't change. It's because should is a maybe and maybe is a death sentence for your dreams. Your brain doesn't get what you want, it gets what you must have. You have to turn those shoulds into absolute musts. Think about it. The areas of your life where you are currently succeeding are the areas where you have a high standard. You don't settle for less than a certain level of income, a certain level of fitness, or a certain level of respect in your relationships. That is your baseline. Your life is a direct reflection of your standards, not your goals. Goals are things you're shooting for, but standards are the floor you refuse to fall below. When you raise your standards, you change your identity. You stop identifying as someone who's trying and start identifying as someone who delivers. This is where the shift happens. When you decide that average is no longer an option, your brain begins to filter the world differently. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing the requirements for your new level of existence. Most people's standards are set by their peer group. They look around and see everyone else playing smallest thing comfortable and complaining about the system, so they fit right in. If you want to win, you have to disconnect from the average and anchor yourself to the exceptional. You have to demand more from yourself than anyone could ever possibly expect of you. You have to be the one who stays later, works harder, and cares more. This isn't about being a perfectionist. It's about being a person of integrity who honors their own potential. When you raise your standards, you send a message to the universe and to yourself that you are a person of substance. You are saying, this is who I am and this is how I live. Once you make that internal shift, the external world has no choice but to adjust to the new version of you. The final, most explosive key to the psychology of winning is the power of decisive, massive action. You can have the best strategy in the world, you can be in a peak state, and you can have the highest standards on the planet, but if you don't get off the sidelines and into the game, it means absolutely nothing. Knowledge is not power, knowledge is only potential power. Execution trumps knowledge, every single gaw. Ye of the week, the bridge between the life you have and the life you want, is a moment of total unwavering commitment. It's that split second where you stop considering and start doing. Most people are professional overthinkers. They study, they plan, they analyze until they've paralyzed themselves into a state of inaction. They are waiting for a guarantee, but in the game of life, there are no guarantees, there are only opportunities. You have to be willing to jump and build your wings on the way down. You have to commit first and figure out the rest later. That is how winners play. Decisive action means that the moment you have a breakthrough, the moment you make a decision, you take a physical step toward it immediately. You don't leave the site of a resolution without taking some form of massive action that commits you to the path. If you want to start a business, you don't just think about it. You register the name, you call the client, you make the pitch right then and there. You have to kill the gap between the thought and the deed. Success loves speed. The longer you wait to act on an idea, the more time your brain has to talk you out of it, to remind you of the risks, and to pull you back into the safety of your comfort zone. But there is no growth in the comfort zone. You have to be obsessed with progress, not perfection. You will make mistakes, you will stumble, and you will get knocked down, but if you keep moving with massive intensity, you will find a way. Winners don't stop when they're tired, they stop when they're done. They understand that a real decision is defined by the fact that you've taken a new action. If there's no action, you haven't truly decided. You have to be the person who strikes while the iron is hot. And if the iron isn't hot, you start striking until it becomes hot. That is the hunger, that is the drive, and that is the only way to turn a vision into a reality.